Rippity rap, everybody, what is up? We
Happy
back at it
Wednesday.
again. Back at it again.
Yep.
Well, we got some interesting information. Now we're gonna disclaimer this. Okay. We're gonna disclaimer this. Not sure if what is being said has any true merit to it. However, we are of the opinion that perhaps it might be.
Mm-hmm.
And BitChute is given trouble, or Rumble. Rumble's having issues.
That was BitChute.
No, Rumble's having issues.
Oh yeah, damn it, Rumble.
Well, they might not have Rumble up today, which is crazy. Always works before, but not now for some reason. Let me double check one thing here real quick to verify, because I did set it up. So before we do anything else, I want to see if it's showing up at all. Yep, it's there. So weird.
So it's on their end then.
Yeah. So I can see it. Maybe the Rumble people might not be able to chat, but they were able to chat like here. See, so that's a Rumble comment. That's a Rumble comment. That's a Rumble comment. So if you're on Rumble watching, okay, they can see and hear. So I don't know what this
Interesting.
notification is. Ignore the notification. As I was saying, we have a disclaimer. There are some interesting things that are going on with the lady. I can't say that she is a federal whistleblower, but she is a whistleblower because she's given information. She said she was asked about it, and she said she can't say a whole lot because there's a case ongoing, and that is indeed true. And she did start this all the way back in July the 3rd of 2024. So, and this was for racketeering and corruption organization, and she did indeed list Jos Shapiro in this lawsuit even back then, along with everybody involved in the so-called thing. So it's on docket. Okay, so it's not like it's some frivolous, just a talk of the town kind of thing. She has put something out into the courts, so you can't say that it's not 100% true. It just may not be founded on anything actual, but we don't even know that yet. However, what we might show you today might change. It changed my mind when I looked into it. So I have a reason to believe that her statement could be very well true. So in either case, I want to put that disclaimer out there so you all know that this is not a 100% verified story. But maybe what we lay out might prove to you that if it doesn't get to 100%, it will be because they're trying to hide something. That's our
More than likely.
More than likely.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we're going to go through what she actually put out and the information that we have so far. Okay. And we'll go over that. This is the first page of the information here. We'll zoom in a little bit. Okay. So this is the private criminal complaint of Joshua Shapiro. And there's her name, Hadassah Feinberg. And I accuse the above named defendant who lives at the address set forth. And of course, Butler, Pennsylvania, which is where the attempted assassination took place. And the defendants are Joshua Shapiro and Christopher Paris, Michelle Henry, Val Akash, Larry Krashner, and Francis Chardo. Now, the real big question is, what would be the onus for Mr. Shapiro to plot such a thing?
Cover up.
He works for the DNC, and I think that they knew Joe Biden didn't stand a chance to beat Trump. So that's one reason. Another reason is, when was this RICO case? The third?
The third, yeah.
Yeah, so this case was filed on the 3rd, and they knew that there was a huge possibility that Donald Trump would win. And they knew if he would get in office, he would pursue this case and start digging deeper. So this was one way to get rid of the man, and they failed.
So you said something, Lee. What flesh that out for me?
I mean, if they knew Trump was going to win and they couldn't repeat 2020, they had to figure out another way to be able to not only get rid of their opponent, but hide their tracks to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said cover up. That would be the only reason why they would make the assassination attempt. Because the moment Trump gets into office, he's going to uncover some things. And then in the name of transparency, or at least I hope, in the name of transparency, put it all out in the open, just like he did with the MK files, JFK files. So if he were to do more uncovering, the only way to keep yourself covered up is to take out the very guy that threatens to basically shine a light on all your disease and darkness.
I could see that, especially with the thought process we had prior to you walking in. There was speculation. Now, remember, Kamala didn't join the race until August, the first week of August. And she didn't really pick a running mate until like the second week of August, maybe then around the third week of August. And there was speculation that the one person that they wanted her to pick was Mr. Shapiro.
Yeah.
Now, I think this is speaking for me, my conspiracy theory. I think they didn't go through with Shapiro because of this.
Yes.
Because with background checks that would be needed, it would be from both sides, not just one investigating itself.
Right.
Being a VP pick, you have to be investigated full bore, and any and all communications are going to be scrutinized, which is why people saw Tim Walz as such a horrible pick. He was the only one left that they could possibly think of. I think their initial pick was going to be Shapiro until the realization of, hold on, with somebody bringing the casing about maybe he's involved in this, that'd be too much to have to try and hide. Then you have to go and investigate the actual assassination attempt. They wasn't going to do that. We all knew that. And there we have the premise for what possibly could have been I consider it a coup attempt.
Yes.
I consider it a coup attempt. If all of this is true.
Right.
And on another point, I think that's one of the reasons Biden dropped out, because for the whole time he was talking about, I'm running, I'm this, that, and the other, I'm able, I'm capable, I'm good. Then a few days after the assassination attempt, what does Biden do?
Ow.
He drops out because he was betting on this assassination going through, so he can just walk right into the next presidency.
That's fair.
Do you think then that perhaps, just perhaps, the person that we're talking about that filed this complaint, that it was true that they managed to send information to the FBI or to the White House, but it never got taken seriously because they were in on it too?
Yes. Oh, yes.
That would be fair. Yeah.
Because I want to, this guy covered it earlier before us, and I want to make sure I'm going to give him credit. His channel is called The Real A Dog. The Real A Dog, I'm assuming is what his name is. Fairly large channel, but listen to his analysis.
All right, y'all, we are back with another video. I definitely had to bring y'all this. We got breaking news. Now, this right here has been all over Twitter. Now, it's this young lady that came out named Hadassah Feinberg, came out and said that Governor Jos Shapiro had something to do with Donald Trump's assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. And not only that, it's like she said she brought it to the Biden administration attention and they blocked it. Like they tried to cover this up. So like I said, this is breaking news all over the internet.
Okay. So if that is true, that is a huge deal.
Yes, it is.
Because that would implicate them and would probably substantiate our theory that the reason that they didn't want to actually pursue anything was the fact that they could not put him under the scrutiny of the light for VP, put him to the side, bring on somebody else that's twice as distracting, Tim Walz, and move completely away, which is why, to your point before, bro, dropping the story off the internet for forever, because that assassination thing should have been running till the election, and it disappeared after 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah,
it was gone after that. And we were talking backstage, and bro, you said something about bringing up the idea that maybe that's why Biden did indeed drop out, is to set a separate storyline, a story arc to cover, bring attention to Kamala and away from the idea. And this is why they all probably also started a narrative that it was fake. He planned it himself. This was all part of his plan. It was a fake assassination attempt, blah, blah, blah. Could that have been the reason for the narrative of that they really did intend to? And when it didn't work out, they have to bring up a plan that maybe, okay, we have to have a backup plan, but we also can't bring the guy that we know was behind it in Jos Shapiro.
And that I agree. And here's another thing. I think, again, they were betting on Trump getting taken out. Biden was going to walk into the presidency. Eventually, they would do the 25th Amendment, which they've been talking about. They knew his cognitive state was declining. Get him in, 25th Amendment. Kamala becomes president, brings in Shapiro, and they ride off into the sunset, and all this stuff just disappears in the J. Edgar Hoover building where all the other corrupt stuff goes on.
Right.
But at the same time, though, when Biden offered his apology, playing devil's advocate, do you think that was part of the cover ploy to try and mitigate the fact that they missed and they failed at their attempt?
Mm-hmm.
Could be, but you also have to remember he has to remain neutral so no one can link him to anything, especially if this truth comes out that she did indeed approach in some way, shape, or form, whether that be email or contacting Secret Service. If it proves out that she did indeed reach out to them to alert them to something or even a lead, this would give even more credence to the idea that even the Secret Service were in on it, because they did a very poor job of protecting him that day. So when you couple all the events together, poor protection, open scenario, Josh never actually got to the point where he was nominated for VP. He's the one that would be actually coordinating with the people coming to Butler, Pennsylvania. Then you have him, this information coming out, and the story gets put away. No one really talks about it after a while, and then they start the narrative of him starting it on himself. You have to start thinking there might be something going on in the inner working. Something that, I mean, the apology, I think, I don't think it was a sorry we missed, but it was an attempt to draw attention away from Biden as a possible accomplice to this as well.
Yes.
And he's not pardoned out of this, by the way, if it doesn't cover that he had a hand in it and there was information about this and he never investigated it. That's going to show us really bad on the man. Think about that.
I mean,
go ahead, James.
Yeah, I was just gonna say though, I guess it's hard for me to see him to have a neutral position when throughout his campaigning period, as well as the rhetoric that he had during his presidency about, wanting to take Trump back behind, a schoolyard and beat him and stuff. So is that more of him, trying to save face with decorum, or is it because for him to be in on it and yet try to have a neutral face to it, but at the same time being one of his biggest antagonists, it seems unlikely for him to have the cognitive ability to remain neutral.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's just for decorum's sake, for him to apologize.
As surface as it was.
Yeah.
No, but I think what will eventually happen is you'll see him try to use the same grounds that was given to Trump in the immunity thing. The difference is if they uncover a plot to kill a running presidential candidate that is not in an official capacity as president to do.
Right.
In fact, that would be considered treason.
Yep.
In fact, he would have and this would be probably the only time he would be taken to the gallows. This would be one of those occasions where the case would be tried whether or not he liked it, and there'll be no exemption from it. Mm-hmm. Especially if it happens within the next 4 years with the people that are there, with Tulsi, and if Patel gets it, it's going to be hell to pay.
Oh, jeez.
Bondi. There is no coming back from it. Now, here's the thing. If he is involved, if Biden is involved, whether that be by omission of investigation or actually planning things out with Shapiro, there could be a massive shakeup in government. We're talking twice the size of Doge, and when this thing gets breaking free, it is going to be ridiculous.
And it's going to be beautiful to watch. And you have to understand, they're getting ready to drop more of these JFK files, MLK files, RFK files. when they drop these files and the names in those files start coming up that are associated with the Democratic Party, the CIA, and the FBI, and they're going to be like, wow, the Democratic Party actually took these people out. Then people, the light bulb's going to go on. Then when they actually show you evidence about this Trump assassination, that it was the Democratic Party, after they already showed you what the Democratic Party is capable of when it came to past presidents and the other people, then when this comes out, which it will, they're going to show you, look, the Democratic Party is known for doing stuff like this. And they try to do it to Trump. It's going to be more believable. People are going to be like, well, that's believable now.
Yeah.
This statement, I totally had space that he was that. And PA was one of the biggest places that particular thing took place.
That's right. I remember. Yeah.
Now, if it goes back as far as 2020, hear me out. If this goes back as far as 2020, where in order for things to go the way they went, this was a mass orchestration to ostracize Mr. Trump from the race and to the office. And then when that was unsuccessful in keeping his spirit away from running again, and he decided to run again, and you had nothing else, this might have brought about all the other charges that were running before the assassination attempt. Remember, they were case after case after case after case after case brought. And when each started to fall, it almost felt like this. We said it, even people on radio, even when he interviewed, when Tucker Carlson was interviewing, and he said, he asked Trump, do you think they're going to kill you? He said, I wouldn't put it past them. Now, this was long before this, but this was after all the court cases started to fall apart.
Right.
Now, if, again, we are speculating, okay, because we don't have 100% proof that what this lady's saying. But if I look at the extenuating circumstances, I can probably link what she's saying to reality. Okay, so with that being the case, were they planning at the time to do it during that interview and even leading up to it as a last resort? And was it purposefully planned the way it went in Butler, Pennsylvania, to have that run because of what happened in 2020? Because he had to stomp there heavy because of how much he lost in Pennsylvania, technically.
Well, I don't know if it was. I think that, well, the way that the guy shot Trump for that assassination attempt in Butler, I don't know if they did it on purpose, because if they're going to be thorough, about it. But they hired some poor guy to shoot, and then they off the guy to cover their tracks again. Maybe I'm being conspiratorial, but I don't know if they were purposefully.
I think look, this is me saying, I'm not saying that he is a chosen human being, but we're talking a matter of millimeters to maybe half an inch.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not talking even with the best sniper in the world, they would have had to either take the shot earlier or later. When the shot was taken, it was on target. Let's not get it wrong here. This was on target. Sure. This was not like a miss really wide and it shot and it zoomed by. It hit. But the only reason it didn't hit as much as it should have hit was a matter of this instead of this.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So I can't say that he was an amateur. I think it was set up purposefully for him to have as much time as needed, because he was there before, half hour before. While it was going on, he had tons of time to set up. There was nobody talking to him. People were alerting and nobody was watching.
Yep.
And the only way that could have happened is at the behest of the person that's over that state.
That's true.
So could it be? Yes, 100% could possibly be that he did indeed have a hand in it. However, you can't say that it might not have been, it was because they planned to miss. This is why the stupid idea of them saying he planned it, just get shot in the air. Nobody could plan that good. You would have to be, what's that guy named that died? Chris, American Sniper guy?
Yeah.
You'd have to have at least 150, 300 kills under your belt to say, Kyle, right? You'd have to be really, really, really good to aim at somebody's ear mid-jerk and say it wasn't a partial attempt. That's so stupid, it's beyond reason. So I can't chalk it up to that. But I can say that too many things were left open to somebody to try
Mhm.
for vetting. People ask, and this is what was happening in Congress recently. They were asking the particular leader, and he blew up at one of the congressmen. Did you see that? He blew up at him because he told him that you weren't doing your job. You fired the
Oh, yeah.
lady, but you
I
still
remember.
have your job.
Mhm.
And
I
he got
remember.
mad because I think he might have also had a hand in allowing this to take place.
Yeah, I believe that a lot of them had a hand in it, and I think right now we keep talking about how these people are terrified. Bondi, she's not playing. Patel, they're not playing. They are coming in and they are going after everyone. I keep going back to when Donald Trump said, "We got everything. We got them all." Remember, he said that a few years ago. He said, "We got them all."
Mhm.
So everything that he's talking about, all these people going down, all this stuff happening, he's already known about it. You know, in my conspiracy mind, what if this assassination was planned, which it was, and he already knew? You know what I mean? It sounds weird, but what if he knew that they were planning on assassinating him or trying, but he didn't know it was going to be at that event?
Right, right.
You know, because things get leaked all the time. There's insiders, there's people that are in the inner circles, and they talk about these things, who's going to do what, and they tell people, and sometimes it leaks out. So maybe he did know. And when Tucker Carlson said that, Tucker Carlson probably knew something too. He was just throwing it out there. I don't know. But it's
But we did have some sort of an inkling on them because they failed in 2020. Well, because they recognized that they were caught in 2020, the left. And then with the surge of people now saying, "You're not going to do this again, lefties," the only way to be able to ensure their victory was to get rid of the guy. And so I was going with somewhere with this. But I mean, just the fact that, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and you know, the other assassination attempts or whatever you want to call them, were just so sloppy after that.
Right.
You know,
right.
just very sloppy, it's almost like the guys just wanted to get caught. And I think that was just another reason to take the eye off, as Marlon stated earlier, besides, you know, and dropping out. They plan these other ones so people can start focusing on these other guys that they actually caught. And we're not going to talk about the dead guy. Let's talk about these guys we caught. So it just kind of makes you think, like, you know, was it planned? Did all these people have their hand in it? And did Shapiro actually have his hand in it? Because they planned on these other assassinations, and it kind of took the, you know, it was the shiny object. Took our eyes off this one and we focused over here.
I'm trying to find that interview because it's interesting. The questions that came at this guy and how he answered the question proved that he didn't do his job. But when it was brought to his attention certain things about the similarities of another major event, that's when he completely went, like, I mean, bat crazy. And I cannot remember the title that it was called.
I see the guy's face too.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about.
But I know it was recent that I watched it within the last 3 days, so I know it'll be here in my history. So that's what I'm scanning through right now. So here's my question while I'm looking. If this goes to where Bondi has to be involved, do you think any heads are going to roll?
Oh yeah, 100%.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they're going in there to clean house, man. And I think she's going to be the one that does it. Everything's going to get exposed. Everyone's going to get called out. And we're going to see the truth. All this this is why I think about how they took the funding away from the propaganda media. You have to take the head off the snake. The media is the head. They're the one who puts out this false information and all these lies. The minute you stop that, and you start dropping truth, they have nothing to do but to tell the truth. So when the truth comes out, people are going to hear about it, and they're going to know. And they're going to know that the Democratic Party, and including some rhinos, are responsible for some of the most heinous things that have been done in our country, including the attempted assassination of Trump.
I found it. So here we go.
So I got another question for you.
Yep.
Do you recognize this photo?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Is that the remembrance of September 11th?
It was.
Was it in New York?
It was at Ground Zero.
Okay. Who's usually at an event like this closest to the President of the United States, security-wise?
The SAC of the detail.
Special agent in charge of the detail. Were you the special agent in charge of the detail that day?
Actually, let me address this. Could you please, staff, leave?
You see where the behavior changed?
Yeah.
Now, what the person is trying to imitate with this guy is that he afforded one person more protection than the other.
Yep.
And as soon as he realized, hey, you're trying to make that imitation, I'm going to watch how quickly he turns from I'm going to talk, and he start to fidget the instant the picture got brought up. Okay, watch carefully.
It was at ground zero.
Okay.
Watch him.
Who's usually at an event like this closest to the President of the United States,
You don't read the reason why. It's
security-wise?
The SAC of the detail.
He sees
Special agent in charge of the detail.
See?
Were you the special agent in charge of the detail that day?
Actually, let me address this. Could you please, staff, leave that? Oh, no, leave that one up with the circle around me. Thank you. So actually, Congressman, what you're not seeing is the SAC of the detail out of the picture's view. And that is the day where we remember the more than 3,000 people that have died on 9/11.
What does
I
that have to do
actually
with the question?
responded to ground zero. I was there going through the ashes of the World Trade Center.
No, you
I'm
wasn't.
not quite sure what that has to do with the questioning, but I get you have to now paint yourself in a good, positive light to get everybody riled up on your side. This is what they always do: deflect, deflect, deflect. But I'm glad this guy caught it.
I was there at Fresh Kills.
I'm not asking you that.
I was
I'm asking
there,
you if
Congressman.
were you the special agent in charge?
To show respect
You were not.
for a Secret
that's
Service
a bunch of
member
horse hockey.
that died on 9/11.
That you were trying to be.
Do not invoke 9/11 for political purposes.
I'm not. I'm invoking this.
You are, sir,
Gentlemen,
and you are out of line.
This is how they behave when you get caught.
Yep.
That's what that was quick. He went from calm and look at his face. He knows.
0 to 100.
He knows. He knows.
I'd like to ask him a question, please.
You are out of line, Congressman.
Don't
Way
try
out
to
of
bully
line.
me. I am an elected member of Congress, and I'm asking you a serious question, and you are
I am
playing
a public
politics.
servant who has served this nation and
You
spent
won't answer
time
the question.
on our day, on our country's darkest
Mr.
day.
Chairman,
Nobody
Yeah,
cares what
nobody
you did on
cares.
the darkest
That
day,
wasn't
bro.
even-
We're
Yeah.
not talking about the darkest day.
That wasn't even the
Nobody
question that was
cares.
asked.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me how quickly he flipped that script over.
Do not politicize it.
Committee will come to order. I'm asking you serious questions for the American people, and they're very simple. They're not trick questions. Were you the special agent in charge that
No, I
day?
wasn't. I was there
Oh, no,
representing
Mr.
the
Chairman,
United
I'm
States
just
Secret
asking you-
Service.
But you just said you were. At the beginning of it, you said you were.
So this is under perjury, right?
It's his oath. This is oath.
Mr. Fallon, your
and
time's
did not
expired.
affect protective
No,
operations.
you were there because you wanted to be visible because you are auditioning for this
I was
job.
there to pay
You're not
respect
gonna
for a
get
fallen
the
member of
January
this
20th.
agency.
You and James
No, you
Jones
wasn't.
Out of
Biden's
line,
life,
Congressman.
Vice President
You are out of
Harris's
line.
life because you put those agents out of position.
Mr.
Did you have a
Chairman.
radio with
Mr.
you?
Fallon, your
You were
time
there.
has
You have a
expired.
weapon?
Mr.
No.
I
Chairman.
did, sir, and you are out of line.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Proof is in the behavior.
It's
Yep.
crazy. It is crazy.
Like if you had nothing to hide or there was nothing wrong, you was doing everything right, why would you get so mad? And you try to pull on the emotional heartstrings of people. I was there for 9/11 on the darkest days. He's using all these buzzwords to try to pull on the heartstrings of people to get them to see his side. And I'm glad he stood his ground. He's like, nope, that's not going to work.
But mind you, this was him before.
So I got another question for you. Do you recognize this photo?
So what let me see if I can find
Fallon,
it.
your
And
time's
did not
expired.
affect protective
Fallon,
operations.
you were
time's
there
expired.
because you wanted to be.
Maybe if I can
at
find
the
this
Secret Service are still being doled out. Take a listen.
There will be accountability, and that accountability is occurring. It is an extensive review that requires time to ensure due process. And the pace of this process, quite frankly, it does frustrate me. But it is essential that we recognize the gravity of our failure. I personally carry the weight of knowing that we almost lost a protectee, and our failure cost a father and husband his life.
The instant they have to behave so grandstandish, they're lying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're lying. You are lying, and how you do your mouth, it's all of it in your body language is a lie. Now, I played that for a purpose. The purpose was this. If all the powers that were in charge that day, it seems to me like they were in complete unison with the lack of response, even leading up to the day, because Kash Patel said it, that they were requesting that information, some more detail, and they weren't getting it. And this is from the governor. They weren't getting that information. They were not given the kind of protections. In fact, they changed the detail the day before. So there were lots of things that were happening before the event that should not have ever happened in this event.
Right.
And now you're coming to answer questions, and the only person to be fired was the female that was thrown under the bus, even though she was a trash person. I get it. But he's still in charge. And there's still lots of them that have not been fired. And you're still investigating a year later? Almost? This thing happened in July. We're in February.
Yep.
And you still have no answers? If anything, this should have been expedited. You should have all hands on deck trying to figure this out.
Right.
Because hear me out. What if the people that were that lackadaisical then would be lackadaisical during Harris's term? What if? What if it wasn't a partisan thing? What if it was that these people are just incompetent and they cost the next president, regardless of who it was, their life?
Yep.
Shouldn't you investigate it quicker?
And you know, when was this? When was that hearing? Was it this month?
Yeah. 2 months. This was in December.
Okay, so they were betting on at that time. They knew Trump had already won the election. But they were probably betting on him either not getting in for some reason. Because remember, even when he got elected, they were still trying to find a reason for him not to get into office. So when he said that it's taken so long, the whole time they've been betting on this man not getting in office. And then again, if Trump had gotten in there, what do you think would have happened with this case? Or anything about this? It would have got pushed to the sides. It would have been thrown in the ether somewhere. We would have never heard about it again. Now they're at a time in history to where now they're really going to be held accountable, and they're going to have to figure out what the heck went on. And I'm telling you, this new Justice Department is not playing, man. They will find out.
I think this needs to be pulled away from a Congress hearing because they never put anybody in stockades. They need to be in stockades, but they're not. And I don't think Congress will ever do that. So, which is why I'm hoping that Bondi takes this up and starts to independently investigate that. Make sure they have all hands on deck to look into it. And I probably will go on a limb and say that they probably might find a connection.
They will.
Between all the people that really didn't want Trump in power, had a hand to play in not just the Pennsylvania debacle, but in the subsequent ones that happened, golf course, and even up to the Tesla bombing at his Trump Tower.
Yeah.
So, and I heard too that there was there was one that was an attempt, but it wasn't spoken about at the game.
One of his rallies or the recent.
Yeah. So, but you don't hear much about it. So here's the thing: are they still going to try and pursue this? And were they trying to get more done before the nominations, which is why they were stonewalling them, so they could not begin investigations into it. Now, here's what my thought is: they probably won't try it again, at least not for until they know for sure that Kash Patel doesn't get in. I could see that. I could see them waiting until Kash doesn't. But by the way, he can rush through Kash, by the way, and get him in anyway. So I think eventually Kash will be in. And if Kash, Bondi, and Hegseth, good Lord, man, come on, man.
And what they're stonewalling is so to get rid of any information tied to this.
Right.
You know, they're holding off on Kash Patel because they already know how he operates. They know day one, Kash Patel's coming in there. I want this, and this. So if they can hold out, they can start getting rid of anything that ties any of this to DNC, Shapiro, Biden, Harris, Obama, all. and they can start getting rid of some of that stuff. So when he does get in, there's nothing. They're like, well, lone shooter.
And okay, I'm glad you said that.
Mm-hmm.
That was the statement the day of.
Yes.
They had the narrative the instant the man got killed.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all can go back and check. Type in the date and check for yourself and see. The day of the assassination, they said lone shooter.
Yep.
Nothing to see here. Lone shooter. In fact, I'm going to get you the date. Let me figure this out here.
See,
July 13th.
Okay.
Go look up anything to do with July 13th, and I guarantee you, around the 13th, 14th, and 15th, you'll hear them saying lone shooter.
Yep.
And they already knew all that from just killing him. No
narrative
investigation, nothing.
And the narrative was already created, again, going back to how they own the mainstream media with this propaganda stuff. The mainstream media already had the script, central casting. It's a movie. Here you go. You're all going to talk about it on this day. Lone shooter. Say it over again. Lone shooter.
Yeah.
So they already knew, man.
So my whole concern, though, is I hope Pam Bondi recognizes the treason aspect of all this, and she actually follows through with the consequences of their actions.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning televised execution,
Yes.
that kind of thing. Because we haven't had a public execution in how long?
Especially with the amount of people that do it because of kind of corruption they've been in.
Yeah. So that's my only hope, is that Pam Bondi actually follows through with the full weight of justice.
Okay. I'm telling you, all this is going to tie back to a lot of big people, man. And a lot of it will be exposed in ways that people aren't even thinking about. Don't forget about like Space Force and all this other stuff that's, intercepting a lot of these messages that these people think are hidden. And this is why, another reason I don't think they're really worried, because I believe when Trump said we got everything, I really believe they got everything.
That's not my main concern is the follow through. They have everything.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with it? I want them, if they're going to, if these people have definitely been involved in conspiratorial treason, and they've been found out and connected to all of this stuff, that one circumvents the American people's opinions and their voice for we the people, but then also their actions have definitely been the ones who have been involved with all of that, and that gets found out. I want Pam Bondi to throw the gavel on the deal and say death penalty, treason, execution.
Yep. And post it for everyone to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have like an EBS, boop, boop, this is an emergency, blah, blah, blah. And then they just start showing their faces. Treason.
Mm-hmm.
Treason. For the whole world, the whole United States to see at the same time.
Yeah.
Treason. That's how you got to do these people.
Because we haven't had a televised treason execution since the two spies back in the 60s, right?
Right.
The defectors.
Really?
I mean, I'm asking.
That's the last I can remember.
Yeah.
Okay, so right after the shooting, this was on the 19th, okay? The 19th. The 16th was the shooting. The 19th is what this was reporting, right? Remember, BBC took money from the American government. Just remember that.
Yes.
Okay, this is a BBC reporting. Thomas Crook was from Bethel Park in Pennsylvania. Now, this is 3 days. Okay? About 70 kilometers, 43 miles from the site of the attempted assassination. They knew all of this in 3 days. He graduated in 2022 at Parkland High School with a $500 prize for math. He worked in a local nursing home. This is all information, 3 days. We didn't hear who the shooter was until the day after, but somehow BBC knows all this info in 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. State voter records show that he was a registered Republican. This is all in 3 days. Mind you, this was in the evening. The shooting take place in the afternoon, not early morning. Afternoon, the next day, and then the following day. Just to make sure that you understand the time frame here. He had a membership at a local shooting club. He has multiple trips to the gun ranges, including high-powered rifles. The law enforcement believed the weapon used to shoot at Donald was an AR-style rifle. I don't even know what that means. Was purchased by his father. They knew all about the purchase history of the gun. I want to just paint this picture for you that they knew all this information 3 days. And to this date, they can't tell you how the Secret Service, which they always have a track record of, messed this up.
Yeah.
Again, 3 days. They tell you everything about crooks. In 5 months, they can't tell you anything about the Secret Service. Not a thing.
Anybody have red flags going on?
But they can't tell you nothing. But they found all his info, and in fact, the day after, every bit of his contact info online was gone. Facebook, gone. LinkedIn, gone. Twitter, gone. Reddit, gone. You mean you can track all that down in a day and a half, but you can't after having paperwork signed and details checked off and having checkpoints throughout the entire state for months leading up to and days after. You can't tell me who was responsible for the mishap on the Secret Service side?
Okay. Anybody get red flags from that? I know I do.
A bunch. What school did he graduate from?
That's a red blanket.
I know we don't want to, what school did he graduate from?
They say he attended a community college in Allegheny, but he went to Bethel Park High School in 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they knew all this stuff about him.
Here it is. 3 days after, police believe crooks acted alone. See?
Which
3 days after.
Now look at Politico and then go to Politico and see if it mirrors BBC.
Hold on. Let's see here. I want to make sure people see I'm not lying about this. Okay. On July 15th, the FBI forensics have successfully accessed Crook's phone. So the 14th was the shooting, right? 14th the shooting. They already got into his phone. They knew everything about him. Christopher Wray told lawmakers that about 200 interviews have been done so far and 14,000 images reviewed. The day after. The day after. I'm going to say that again. The day after. That's what you want me to believe.
And that was BBC, right?
That was
what was the headline? What was the headline on that BBC article again? What? Okay. Now, what does Politico say?
Do you have the link for it, or you need me to look it up?
Politico. I was just asking.
Let me see. I'll type in the word Politico after.
I'm just trying to figure out. I'm trying to make a correlation of propaganda media.
They have the Routh one, but not the. Hold on. What was his name again? Crooks. Okay, let's see here. Politico. I don't see there. Oh, here, hold on. July 14th. Like with several other U.S. leaders, luck saved Trump. Okay, this is Politico. So let's see what they say. Trump is not the first incumbent former to have narrowly escaped would-be assassins. So they go into some history. And then Saturday impact the polls. Reagan. They don't mention anything else. They go into history. But mind you, this is the day after. BBC was on the 19th. It would be interesting to go down that rabbit hole and find out. But I would suspect that if you did it, you probably see a similarity in the story about the lone shooter. But like I said, I bet you they had the lone shooter narrative very soon after the shooting. And sure enough, BBC had lone shooter ideas already floating around.
Yep.
What does CNN say?
And they really had no idea that he was a lone shooter at that time. They assumed, because they had a guy up there with his head split open, that it was the only guy. So they just ran with that story. They already knew what they were going to put out. Lone shooter. Send it to the media. Make sure you guys type this in. Put this up on this day. They all knew it.
Okay, July 14th. Here we go. Let's bring this one. This is CNN. Okay. This be CNN. Let's zoom in here. Crooks fired on Trump. A person nearby before being killed by Secret Services, according to the thing. Witness described the bloody chaotic. The shooting left one dead. Okay, good. Now attention turns to ongoing investigation. Crook graduate, look at that. Graduate Bethel High 2022. Okay. So far, registered Republican.
Of course.
Almost verbatim. He gave $15 to Democrat aligned political. Same thing that BBC said. When reached out to his father after being killed at the scene, the FBI, let me see, special agent in charge of FBI said that the press conference Saturday, the night before the gunman was named. So they don't have the lone shooter statement the day after. But all the other information, this is the day after, they already have. The day after.
All planned. I'm going with that. All of this is scripted, man. It's just a movie.
So the question now remains this. If this happens to be Shapiro's involvement shows up, this is nasty work on their part. And if I tell you this, if nothing happens, I have lost all faith, even in the justice system under Trump.
Same.
I can't trust them ever again. And there'll be no reason for me to abide by anything they give me. I'm dead serious. There's no reason to abide. Because even if I do, screw it.
Yeah.
The shooter is dead. Scene has been contained. 20-year-old Thomas Crooks identified the two spectators injured, 57 and then 74. Shots rang out at 6 p.m. See, evening time. Plenty, no time to really do a whole lot that day, right? Unless you stayed up all night. They rushed to stun. Blood was over. The shooter had followed multiple shots. He's now deceased. Law enforcement found multiple suspicious canisters. Something explosive.
You want to know the funny part? This MSNBC article was released on the 13th, and they updated it on the 15th.
Really?
You can see the timeline at the top of the headline.
Interesting.
Look. See, here again. Same statements again. Registered Republican. They have to put all the talking points in there as often as possible across all platforms. Details about the shooter's life beginning to emerge. A former classmate of the shooter said he was bullied almost every day.
Yeah.
Crooks' family is cooperating with investigators. Let's see. Biden quickly decried it. Let's see here. A doctor rally himself. Shapiro said this in a statement that the police are working with local and federal enforcement. Violence targeted at any political or political party or political leader is absolutely unacceptable. It has no place in Pennsylvania or the United States. I have been briefed on the situation, and the Pennsylvania State Police are at Butler working with our local law enforcement. Okay.
That's a safe face tweet right there.
Man, that's a very good statement to make. At least you make it at the time, so you can't say nothing else. So let's see. They don't say anything about the lone shooter thing, but the BBC sure did. But
Now,
again, a 3-day difference.
Did he wish Trump like speedy recovery? Did he
I don't
offer
remember
his
seeing
condolences? Yeah.
I don't think any of them did that. Nobody did that. No.
That should tell you enough right there. He's like, dang it.
Yeah.
Well, we don't. Yeah.
It's just crazy to me that all of them carry the same, almost the exact same narrative over and over and over again. They keep saying it. If it's not long, and we did 3 the day after. If you want to do your own research, and I encourage you to do the same, go look at dates and all the left-leaning content creators on newspaper and see if they don't go to the lone shooter statement.
Yes.
Go listen to CNN, MSNBC on news and see if they don't say lone shooter. They have to hedge that bet in, because if you do that the same way they do with JFK, lone shooter. We know now it's not, but that's what they said, lone shooter.
Yep. And they have to harp on the fact
something.
they have to harp on the fact that he was a Republican. You know, disregard that, you know, Trump almost got shot in the face.
Right.
The only thing these leftists were honing on was lone shooter, and he was a Republican. That was it. Republican. That was the narrative they were pushing.
Not only that, but they were also pushing the fact that even your own people don't like Trump. So what does that tell you about the guy? Kind of a thing. So
right.
It's to further demean his character.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of those things that I think will eventually come into light if providing and hopefully that this Justice Department does what it's supposed to do. This doesn't have a expiration date on it. It is not like a statute of limitations with this. Just like with the JFK files, you can still go back and make arrests for people that did this stuff. However, I don't know that they will. But with this one being as recent as not even a year old, and he is now the current president, you have to investigate, because if there are still people in the government, in the CIA, in the Secret Service that are serving him right now, and they can possibly put his life in jeopardy, you got to get rid of those people. You have to find out. And much less if it's somebody that's in government on the governor or even the Senate or state side. This has to happen. As for her lawsuit, or whatever you want to call it, it is this is what she said to close this out. I, Hadassah Feinberg, a fiant and federal whistleblower, hereby allege that defendant Jos Shapiro, in his personal, individual, and official capacity, facilitated, organized, and carried out his plan to assassinate President Donald J. Trump on July 13th, 2024. Defendant Shapiro was unsuccessful in completing his mission, but is responsible for organizing and facilitating it, injuring the current president and causing the murder of Corey Comparator. That is a big statement to make. And she lists the case on the bottom here that she's referring to. So she says with no uncertain term that he not only had a say in it, he facilitated it and orchestrated it. That's a pretty big allegation.
I believe it. Truly believe it.
The only thing left to do now is see if anybody investigates it. That's what we got to wait on.
You know, I don't think Trump's going to let this slide, man.
He better not.
Yeah, I don't think he will. I think this is one thing he will figure out. Now that Bondi's in there, he's going to dig.
Well, I would first like to see him straighten out the economy.
Yeah.
Primarily, and he's done a good job at making that happen with a snap. But then, in terms of order of importance, economy first, so I get my money up, and then two, this assassination attempt debacle that we're theorizing it's at the hands of the DNC.
Yes.
And again, I think they're going to do that after all these other files that have been declassified. The rest of it dropped. Because then they can show that, hey, this is what your own government will do with their fellow Americans. This is what they'll do to them if they don't agree with how they, operate. So once this drops, you're going to start seeing big names on those JFK files, big names.
Yeah, massive.
And then they're going to come out and say, now we're going to show you who was involved in the Trump assassination. And now people are going to be like, believable. So I think they're playing their cards right. But again, like you said, focus on that economy. Give us our money back.
This is going to be a big deal. And I do hope that this comes to light. I do hope that this goes from one spot in our psyche to having a complete exposure. It has to have a complete exposure. And if what they're doing with those is any implications of them trying to get to the bottom of government corruption, this is what I was hoping he'd do the very first time with draining the swamp. I understood that he could not because he was too sidetracked with the amount of rhinos and crazy crap people, and he picked some of the most stupid individuals to run his cabinet. This time around, I'm glad he picked as many people as he possibly could that everybody else calls conspiracy and right-wing nut jobs. I'm glad he picked every last one of the nut jobs, because the nut jobs are going to get it done.
Them Gen Xers.
Does it. And Gen Xers that don't play around.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see that. I really am. The question now will be whether or not it'll result in any arrests. That's what I want to see. I want to see people pay the piper for this one. I don't want the fines. I don't want people getting fired. I want them arrested.
Yeah.
They need to serve jail time or worse. For what they've done, jail time or worse. Even if you have to buy an island and exile them there, like you did Napoleon.
Yep.
And you drop ship the most nasty food you can find.
An like island in the middle
food.
Of the Bermuda Triangle.
All of their GMO Monsanto stuff.
Just
all of
chock
it.
Full of everything that you could think of to make them feel as bad as possible. That's how I would punish them.
And if they're sick, you drop them all the poisonous pharmaceuticals. You drop them just the worst, all the poison water, and then you do chemtrails over the island every single day. so they're constantly running. And then you put little heart machines around it, so it just builds hurricanes and everything, and earthquake machines under it, so they get an earthquake every few months. So they
Think
can
about that for a second. That'd be amazing. In the words
horrible.
of Jesse Lee Peterson, amazing.
It's amazing.
Make your lives miserable.
What the? So we'll catch up now. Too Strong will be live tonight in an hour. Another Q&A session, and it shouldn't come down. Hopefully, I do hope we don't let that lady in the room, but she might show up just to try and troll again. But if she does, I'll still light her up again. We're gonna have a phase 2, and I have no problem digging into that again, none at all. But I'll try and try. I say try. Keep my composure so that the live don't come down, so y'all can see it. Okay, I'm not promising I can. I said try. Y'all know I can't stand stupid, and you don't mess with my fam. That's 2 things I don't play with. Okay, so just understand that I'm gonna attempt my best. I'll try my best. But if it fails, just know I tried. Okay, just know I tried.
We can't fault you for trying.
No, they better not.
That's all we can do.
Better not fault me. For those of you, Straight Talk will be early tomorrow. I do have that piano move, and I also forgot I have another appointment at 10:30, an hour away. So I have to cut it short. But we'll be starting at 8:15 Pacific time, 11:15 Eastern Standard Time. 11:15 tomorrow, Straight Talk. Okay, so catch you there, Mr. Lee.
So like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you Friday.
Peace.
Whoa.